Hello learners, welcome to this session. In this session, let us learn programming languages for developing embedded systems. In our earlier sessions, we had seen introduction to embedded systems, applications of embedded systems, characteristics of embedded systems, how embedded systems are different from the normal general purpose computers and other things. In this session, let us learn, in order to develop these embedded systems, what are the various programming languages, those will give the support. I am Professor V. V. Subramaniam, Director, School of Computer and Information Sciences, IGNOU, New Delhi. So, embedded systems can be defined as one comprising a processor, associated peripherals and software used for a particular purpose. It performs a well defined task. So, the development process of an embedded system mainly includes the hardware design and the software design. So, mostly these embedded systems will be interacting with the hardware. So, we should be keeping the focus in both the designs. One is the hardware design, that is a chip or the microcontroller design, and the software that needs to embedded in that particular chip. So, unlike the design process of software on a typical platform, the embedded system design implies both the hardware and software are being designed similarly. So, we have to give preference to both the hardware part as well as the software part. So, let us see a overlook in a layman terms, what are the different things that needs to be focused when we design the embedded system. So, the elements and associate peripherals, let us see in the element side, we have to take the case of the processor that needs to be used, or else the microcontrollers, or else the DSP, digital signal processing unit. So, these are the 3 or 4 main elements that needs to be taken care. So, coming to the associated peripherals, protocol converters, communication interfaces and then the drivers. These are the 3 things that needs to be taken care. Depending upon the application or depending upon the task or the function of the embedded system, we have to select either the microprocessor or else the microcontroller, the DSP, the protocol converters, communication interfaces and then the drivers. So, let us see how this particular embedded system is developed. This embedded system also follows a development cycle. Earlier in MIS, Management Information System, we had seen the software development life cycle, how it works and what are the various phases or the stages that it involves. Similar kind of design this embedded system also will follow. So, first of all we have to determine the requirements, then design the system architecture, select the operating systems, it may be a real time or else non-real time operating system. So, depending upon the task and the function, we have to decide whether we have to go for the real time operating system or non-real time operating system. We have to choose the processor and then the peripherals, then we have to choose the development platform, then coding comes into picture, optimization of the code, verify the software on the host system and once again verify the software on the target system. So, these are the things that one needs to take care, or also it will follow a kind of system development life cycle. So, right from the requirements till the product, we have to follow a step by step, that is a phase wise manner in order to achieve the goal to develop the embedded system. Coming to the determine of the requirements, that determine, whenever we talk about the requirements, they may be either functional or non-functional. So, multi-mode and multifunctional system, and we have to see the the size, cost, weight, etc. Because these embedded systems should not be the main aspect that we have to consider is the size, the cost, the weight, because these embedded systems we will be placing it in the along with some other peripherals or some other devices. So, we have to see the cost, the size, like where we have to insert this particular embedded chip and what is the cost of, what is the size of that particular device and how much size we have to select for this embedded system. So, these kinds of things matter, the weight part, like what is the cost effective procedure, or else what kind of cost is incurred in order to buy or burn the chip. So, these kinds of things needs to be taken care. Coming to the hardware components. So, obviously, whenever we talk about the size, cost, weight, obviously the component, the hardware component, we have to select either it may be a application specific hardware or else external interface, and then the input and output devices that needs to be taken care for the embedded system, that also have to be focused while selecting the hardware components. Depending upon the size, we have to select the external interfaces and then the display units and other kinds of mechanisms. So, coming to the architecture part, this plays a major role. So, the architecture of an embedded system depends on whether the system is a real time system, whether operating system needs to be embedded, or else it will run on its with the input and output factors, and then the cost, size, power consumption. This is the main aspect that one needs to see while designing the system architecture. So, all these three contributes to the architecture of the good embedded system design. So, then once again depending upon the real time and the non-real time, one needs to select the operating system also. So, the real time operating system like the real time Linux or else VSWorks, PSOS like VRTX, there are several real time operating systems. Even in the earlier session also we had discussed the real time operating systems and its functions. So, those are among that particular availability of the real time operating systems, one needs to select depending upon the task also, whether it should be heavy, whether it should be light, whether it should be only catering to a single function, single task, or multi functions or multitask. Then come to the non-real operating systems, like whether one can go for the Windows CE, Windows XP, or else embedded Windows XP, or else any kind of non-real time operating systems. Suppose if the response time is real, we have to go for the real time operating systems, and if the response time no need to, only just for monitoring purpose we are placing that particular embedded system, then we can go for the non-real time operating systems. So, choice of the processor. So, whether we have to go for the full-fledged microprocessor or only a microcontroller is the requirement. So, we have to select whether we have to go for a 8085 or else whatever the case may be, whether we have to go for the microprocessor and microcontroller, that we have to decide, and depending upon that particular processor, the whole embedded chip will be constructed. And then coming to the DSP, that is the digital signal processor. There are several digital signal processors available depending upon the functionality, depending upon the task that we are embedding in the embedded system. We have to go for the Sharp, Blackfin, Tiger Shark, etc. And then choosing the development platform. The development platforms of embedded systems includes the following. First of all, we have to concentrate on the hardware as well as on the software. So, the hardware platform we have to select the programming language, in which programming language among the available languages we have to go for, the operating system, the development tools, all these things comes under the time when we decide to go for the coding or else when to go for the hardware and other kinds of aspects. So, after that we have to do the coding part. So, for coding part it requires a programming language. There are several programming languages wherein which we will be studying in due course of time in this session. So, code the applications using the embedded programming language. There are several application programming languages available. Among them we have to select the best, and that too it suits the needs of the embedded systems, and then verify the software on the host screen. As we are talking about the systems with the miniature kind of display units and other kinds of things, we have to verify the software on the host system, compile, assemble the source code into object files, use a simulator to simulate the working of the whole system, and this particular verification we should take care with due and prompt care. where in which if at all there are any bugs and other kinds of things we have to rectify at this particular stage, otherwise it may trouble while it is being converted into a kind of product. So, verify the software on the target system also. So, download this particular program using the programmer device, use a simple simulator or else an emulator on a chip debugging tools to verify the software, and then install all these programs onto the chip. That is called as the burning of the chip, or else development of the firmware for the chip that we are talking about. It may be a microprocessor or else it may be a microcontroller also. So, these particular coding and verifying plays the major role while developing the embedded system, and even the selection of the programming language also plays the major role when in due course of development of the embedded system. So, programming the embedded system requires some software languages also. So, programming embedded systems however is a bit more tedious task than most developers think. So, they require low level access and as well as a few of them utilize the resources possible. So, here you can see the resources are very limited, and then it has the interface with the hardware. That particular part we have to see. This is not only a software development kind of thing. Whenever we talk about the embedded system, we have to we have to give equal focus to the hardware part as well as the software part. Whenever the hardware part comes into picture, then once again the low level system access requires the focus. So, only a set of languages are suitable for embedded system that we are going to see from the next slide onwards. So, since programmers face different resource constraints during embedded systems programming, they often tend to choose languages that have a very low memory footprint. So, there may be several characteristics features that one needs to take care. When we talk about the development of the embedded system, we have to take care of the cost, we have to take care of the size, we have to take care of the interfaces, we have to take care of the display units, we have to take care of the memory, because all these things comes in the miniature kind of thing, and using those particular things we have to design the good embedded systems. So, for the design of this particular embedded systems, we can talk about the old school of programming languages like the C, C++, Ada. All these languages can be used in order to develop the embedded systems. So, these particular three languages and other languages are also there. These particular three languages are very old languages, and then they are having a very clear establishing factor also, and these particular languages provides the low level access, that is the interface with the hardware, and these are best suitable for the development of the embedded systems. So, I had given the programming languages that support development of embedded systems on this slide. You can see C, C++, Java, assembly language, Rust, Ada, JavaScript, Go, Lua, B#, C#, Python, Verilog, VHDL, embedded C++. There are plethora of programming languages one can talk about. Depending upon the task, depending upon the function that we are like embedded into the embedded system, the programming language also needs to be taken care. So, coming to the oldest kind of thing that most of the people they use the assembly language, depending upon the chip that they are taking, depending upon the hardware that they are selecting. Assembly language programming is being widely used in the development of embedded systems. As assembly language provides the most low level access to electronic components, it can easily be used in developing embedded programs. But the only thing the limitation with the assembly language is that it talks or else it converts with the system in zeros and ones. So, it will be having a limited instruction set. So, one limitation is that particular thing, and around that particular instruction set only one can program the embedded system. So, coming to the features that that support in order to develop the embedded systems, coming to the assembly language it is used in most of the embedded systems programming for its ability to address critical performance issues in low resource systems. So, assembly provides the low level access required to manipulate hardware efficiently. Embedded application written in assembly is very memory efficient and fast, because we are writing the programs very much nearer to the hardware, like we are directly talking to the hardware. using zeros and ones. So, these particular embedded applications written in assembly is very memory efficient and will be very fast. So, the assembly language programs are almost as efficient programs written in the native machine codes, because the instruction set will be from the chip that we are using. So, another programming language we can talk about is the Verilog. Verilog is a hardware description language, and most of the embedded systems nowadays are using the Verilog or VHDL. So, these are the most popular things, because doing programming using the assembly language is a tough task. So, most of the people they shift to Verilog and VHDL, Java and other programming languages nowadays. And this Verilog is widely used language in the field of embedded systems programming and offers very low level access to system hardware. You can access and control almost every hardware specific detail by incorporating this language into your embedded systems development. And the syntax, coming to the syntax, this Verilog follows the similar syntax that we follow in the C programming. Let us see the features of Verilog that support the development of embedded systems. Verilog allows developers to control the propagation delay and signal strength of their embedded system. So, this is the greatest advantage that we get from using the Verilog programming language. It features two distinct assignment operators, one for the blocking assignments and other for the non-blocking assignments. And it follows a kind of data flow language, and it allows you to design custom hardware as required by your embedded system. So, variables in the Verilog language require a definite size. And the next language that we can talk about, which is very much popular among the embedded system designers, is the VHDL. VHDL is used as a general purpose parallel programming language in embedded systems programming. So, this particular VHDL has the characteristics of parallel features also, parallel programming features. So, this particular VHDL is used for the general purpose parallel programming in embedded systems. VHDL can yield a much modern embedded system that most other traditional programming languages, although generally used for simulating logic gates and circuit. VHDL has a long history of being used in both industrial and household embedded system applications. So, coming to the features part, these programs are written with VHDL are usually processed by a synthesis program. They can handle parallel processing quite smoothly in most modern embedded device. Whenever we talk about the parallel processing, most of the programmers for the embedded system design, they think of VHDL only. So, it is not case sensitive. So, uppercase or lowercase, whatever the case, it does not follow the case sensitiveness. It can be used as a general purpose text processing language in primitive architectures. So, there are several features, like the one is the text processing feature, other is the parallel processing features. So, these are the strong assets of the VHDL programming. It also follows the data flow language as we had already studied in Verilog. So, coming to the popular programming language, C also can be used in order to develop the embedded systems. So, this particular C programming language is the oldest programming language, and by de facto it is called as the middle level programming language, because it caters to the high level features as well as it caters to the low level features. Whenever we talk about the low level features, that is interfaces, it is interfacing along with the hardware and other chip programming. So, C programming is also being used in order to develop the embedded systems. The strongest features that support development of embedded systems using C programming is it provides access to even the most low level system components via its built-in pointers concept. So, developers can create C compilers for their embedded systems pretty quickly thanks to its widespread popularity. C combines the low level functionality of the assembly language very neatly with the modern day programming conventions. So, both the things, it caters to the low level programming features as well as it caters to the high level programming language features. So, C is being used for the development of the embedded systems, and then porting embedded programs across the devices is much easier than programs written in other programming languages. So, this particular thing is called as the portability feature. So, this is strong in C programming language. Coming to the other programming language, that is the C++, which belongs to the the extension of the C. But this particular C++ programming language is having the object oriented programming paradigm also, and this is the strongest asset when we talk about the development of the programming languages. So, many of the object oriented features are also can be used along with the C programming features, so that it gives a good shape and design facilities for the embedded systems. So, C++ lets you inline functions as the replacement of macro definition, something we normally use it in C, and it thanks to its smart implementation of templates and verbose casting, C++ is much more safer than its predecessor, that is the C programming language. The ability to use its overloading functions and constructors makes C++ an ideal choice for embedded system programming. So, these are the strongest assets, like the operator overloading, functional overloading, and then the error handling, the templates. All these features whatever we are talking about in C++ allows the developers to program even the most complex embedded systems without overflowing the memory and the other conflicting features. So, coming to the oldest programming language, that is the ADA programming languages. It has almost completed 3 decades of its existence. It is statically typed programming language that was built keeping real time embedded systems in mind. One is the ADA and other is the VHDL. Both these programming languages supports the parallel features in the embedded systems. So, the strongest asset to support the development of embedded system using ADA are, it is the best choice for embedded system design, and it aims at being extremely reliable. So, it has its existence from past 3 decades, itself proves that it is the best choice for the embedded system designers. Using the ADA they can build and they can develop a very good embedded systems. This particular ADA was built for the US Department of Defense, and it was widely used in the US defense, and you can compile different ADA packages differently and incorporate them on your system as required. So, ADA's runtime checks offer viable protection against common bugs like unallocated memory, buffer overflow errors, range violations, and off-one errors. So, the dynamic dispatch feature offered by ADA helps your embedded application to utilize the polymorphism in a smart way. So, here whenever we talk about the polymorphism feature, we are covering the OOPS concept also. So, these are the strongest assets of the ADA programming language. Other than this particular ADA, we have Java programming language, we have B# programming language, C# programming language, and nowadays people are very much using the Python programming language. So, Python is gaining momentum as a key embedded systems programming language in recent years. As microcontrollers are getting robust every day, it is quite easy to run Python program inside the embedded device nowadays. So, it is becoming picking up very much nowadays, and this Python is widely used in order to develop the embedded systems, and the Python gives developers the ability to write quick programs and very much very useful for designing the embedded systems. So, the strong features of the Python are, Python is interpreted language, meaning you will require a Python runtime when running Python programs. Python is the best plausible solution for writing automation tests for real time embedded systems. Parsing logs and processing image is very easily achieved using the Python programming language. So, before concluding this particular session, let us recap once again. So, we started with the elementary features of the embedded system design. We had shown certain focus, we had thrown certain focus on the system development life cycle of the embedded systems. And in order to design, develop the embedded programming languages, there are several tools and programming languages available, and we had discussed some of the programming languages like C, C++, ADA, and then Python, Java. So, these are the programming languages one needs to learn in order to design the embedded systems. So, with this I conclude this particular session, and in the next session let us see a very important aspect, that is the human computer interaction. Thank you and happy learning.